guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a book review and it's going to be on the first book in the Throne of Glass series, self-titled Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Now in this series I have read this one and the second book, which is Crown of Midnight, which I'll talk about in a different video, but for today we're just going to talk about my opinions on this book. And well, I did give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I teetered between 3.5 and 4 on the rating scale on Goodreads, and then I decided on 4 because even after I read this book, even though I had read other things in between this and the second book in the series, I couldn't get this book out of my head. I kept thinking about different things that had happened in it, the characters, the world. There was so much about this that had so much potential for me to really get lost in it that I knew it was going to only get better from there. So I kept it at a straight 4, but there were a few things I kind of had an issue with. So before I get into what I really thought about it and the things I had wrong with it, let me tell you the premise behind this book. The premise is the main character, Selena Sardothian, she is an assassin. She's Ardalan's assassin. She was captured a year ago and she was sent to the salt mines to be a slave. She is rescued from the salt mines by the prince because he wants her to compete in the competition to become the king's champion. And the king's champion will therefore serve the king, and she has to serve him for 4 years, and then she will become free. So what my understanding was is when you started this book, you were going to follow the competition and follow her story from when they save or rescue her from the salt mines all the way until if she wins the competition. And while the beginning started off like that, the book didn't stay consistent after that. So one of the things that I had kind of a problem with, or that I was confused about, was this book made it sound like we were going to start reading about this kick-ass warrior who, she was the assassin. She was this assassin that no one could ever battle and win. She would always defeat them. In the first 4 chapters, I feel like stuck pretty close to what I expected. They showed her fiery spirit. They showed that she had drive and determination and that she was going to do whatever it took to get her freedom. And we saw a side of her that made me believe that what we were about to read in the rest of this book is what was told to us on the back of the book. However, after about the 4th chapter, we start seeing other sides of her that, while I don't have a problem with seeing the different sides of her, I didn't feel like it really helped the story along just yet. I feel like it should have waited a while before we saw the softer sides of her, and I definitely would have been a little happier if they would have focused a little bit more on the competition. So my biggest, I would say, downfall to this book is that the whole premise behind this is that she is trying to become the king's champion so that she can win her freedom. And while that plot line is still there and you can follow the storyline throughout the book, sometimes it takes a backseat to a secondary plot line that kind of comes through midway through the book. That itself kind of confused me. There was quite a bit of things that you had to all of a sudden pay attention to and understand that came out of nowhere, and you kind of had to put the competition on the back burner. But if you aren't going to read any more in the series and you're only looking at this book, then you might be a little irritated that there's so much other stuff happening on top of the competition and that you don't really hear as much about it. Another thing that I was kind of disappointed about was that the 2 main male characters in this story was Prince Dorian and Captain Kale, and I loved both of them, but I don't feel like we got a lot of detail about them. There wasn't a lot of character building with them, and I know that this is a long series and that there's plenty of time for that, and I assumed it would come later, but I really would have liked to have known more about them in this first book of the story. I really wanted to know more about them so that I could understand a little bit about their background and where they're coming from when they said certain things or made decisions. I really just wanted to dig a little deeper into them, and it didn't come in this book, so that was a little disappointing to me. I also feel like, and this could just be me, this is a personal opinion, but in the beginning of this book, it shows you map. So you get to see a map of all the different lands, and it just kind of shows you and breaks down where everyone is, and you know, it kind of, you can trace where they rescue her from, where she's originally from, which is something you find out in the book, and then also where she's going to. And you can look around and kind of get a feel for it, but I'm not usually one to have to look at, I don't want to have to look at a map to be able to figure something out. And I feel like there were times they were talking about different lands and different kingdoms that I would be like, okay, how is that relevant to this story? Like, who is from there again? Like, I had to backtrack quite a bit to be able to remember, okay, they're allies with these people, or, you know, they've already conquered this place. And it was almost like I had to do more work to read the book and understand it instead of just be able to read through it and enjoy it. Having said all of that, I have to say I really did enjoy this book, regardless of the few flaws I found in it. I loved this book. I think the main thing I liked about it was that I thought it was really cool that Selena really liked to read, that she had that other side to her. While at first I wish they could have held off a little bit and kind of shown that she had a harder exterior, but it broke a little bit over time instead of just instantly her being, you know, could go either way. I feel like it was really nice to see that she had the softer side where she enjoyed the clothes and she liked to read, which I thought was kind of cool as well. I knew that there was great potential for her with her relationships in this book, not only with the two side characters of the men who are kind of in charge of her and who look out for her, but also with the friends that she makes there. I feel like there was so much potential to read in further books, and there is, which is great. And then let's talk about the final scene from the competition. Without giving any kind of spoilers, I want to tell you guys that if you can make it through this book, if you can get past the idea that there is a second plot line that is kind of taking over the competition, if you can get past any of the flaws that you find in the beginning, once you get towards the end of the book, the competition all of a sudden takes a 180 and you are just thrown into this epic scene of battle for life or death. And I really felt like the couple chapters that this whole scene was taking place, I couldn't breathe. Like I was at the edge of my seat trying to wait to see. I kind of figured I knew what was going to happen, but it did not look like it was going to happen that way. And I was so just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I just didn't know what was going to happen. So I thought that was kind of cool that they made the final battle scene or the final competition scene be so realistic and so, you know, in your face, that it kind of brought you back to be like, oh yeah, that's what this book is about. Overall, like I said, I did give this 4 out of 5 stars, and I did give it that because I did have a few flaws with the book, but I did find that I was thinking about this book all the time. I have read this was my 3rd book that I read in January, and I'm now on my 8th book for January. And between all the books I read, between this one and the second one of this series, I feel like I still always came back to this series. I knew that there was so much goodness in this series that even though there was a few things in this I didn't like, I knew if I could get through this and still like it, that the rest of the series would be golden. So if you guys have read this and liked it, let me know down below, or even if you didn't like it, let's discuss it in the comments and see what everybody thinks about this book in this series, because so far I'm pretty impressed. Okay guys, so that's the end of this video. What's your favorite book of the Throne of Glass series? I would love to know that. So let me know down below if you guys want to have a discussion about it, and until my next video guys, I will see you later. Bye!